Do you want me to record?
I just hit record. I didn't realize it wasn't going to automatically. I thought I said it so it would, but
Okay. Okay,
you
yeah,
put
there it
just
goes.
in
Okay.
case, then that would be good. But
Do you want me to do it too?
that would be great, just in case, because my computer is really not
Okay.
the
Says
the best performing computer.
it says I can request from you, but I don't know how to do it.
Okay, I think
I've never done double recording before.
I know, it's so weird. Okay, wait here.
I'm like quickly learning that I'm much older than I actually am now that I have to figure out all this technology stuff.
I know, it's so bad. I'm like, oh wow, I don't know how to do anything. Okay, here, I hit allow record. So
Oh, there you go. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
So cool. It's so good to see you.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
It's
We've
good
been
to see
meaning
you
to talk,
too.
I think, for a long time. Because you do.
Yeah.
Well, it's not, I was going to say, I found my little card, the Umphreak Parent, it's backwards, Umphreak Parent Podcast, and then you changed it to Dropped Among This Crowd, right? So
Yeah.
what made you want to start the podcast in the first place, and then why the name change later
on? Honestly, it's really an interesting story, I guess. I just like had this idea to start the show one day. Like I don't have any history in radio or, anything like that. I was just always into music. That was like my thing, and I was like, well, I don't know anything about podcasting, but I know a whole bunch about Umphrey's McGee. So I just decided I was like, well, let's just do this. And I don't know, it just is kind of snowballed. It's really kind of crazy how much it's, just morphed and become this thing. And the reception that I've gotten from people, fans and band members and crew members and, just all these people, it's really neat.
Yeah, the Umphreys crowd is so supportive too. So it's got to be fun to just like be able to chat with all of them all the time, because
I think that was like the weirdest thing was the first time I went to a show and I didn't have t-shirts or anything yet. It was, still super new.
Yeah.
And someone heard me talking to my husband in line, like we're getting drinks, and the guy in front of me recognized my voice. And he was like, do you do the podcast? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And because it was so weird, I guess I didn't think anybody was really listening. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was like kind of awkward but cool. And then later on I'm like having anxiety, like, did I come off like weird or something? It's my first band encounter, but it was cool to find out that people are actually listening and they actually liked it, and to start to hear stories about how people listen to it every day, and especially now that there isn't any live music, but I've been doing interviews and really trying to keep it alive as much as possible. And a lot of people have said to me that right now it's really helpful in coping and not getting that satisfaction of live music that we're all missing. So to have that, because I feel that way right now about creating this podcast. Like, I'm incredibly grateful to have this project, especially now. Partly because it gives me an outlet that's not my kids.
You're teaching and momming, and you need some time for just you, right?
For sure. And it gives me a creative outlet that's not that. It gives me an excuse to talk to my friends. I could be like, oh, we have to do an interview for the show, so I need to go talk to my friend uninterrupted for an hour. It's a great, I get to use that excuse to talk to my friends, and I still feel connected. I'm still getting that feeling that I was getting from going to see live music. So I'm also grateful to have the show, especially right now, for that.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's so, it's so cool to see how it has grown too. Because how long have you been doing it?
The first episode was May 1st, 2018.
Nice.
So
I
it's
was gonna
been
say,
2.5 years, which
yeah.
also is like,
It sounds forever, but like also not very long at all, you know?
yeah,
It's crazy.
it's so weird because of all the things that I've accomplished in that amount of time with it, and the people that I've met. It's not anything to do with sort of monetary anything. There's no money in podcasting,
Right.
really. I made enough money to upgrade my laptop,
Yeah.
and I needed to, so I was
Sure.
super stoked about it.
Right.
But that's not what this is about, though. It's about
Yeah.
community connection and what I can give back to this band, really,
They give us a
because
lot. People underestimate it, I think, too. If people have not had that experience with music and like how moving it can be, then I feel like it goes totally misunderstood, you know? So it's nice to know that there's this community that's like, nope, this band has meant a lot to me over the years, and I want to, spread the love, basically, it's amazing. I love that community so much. Well, so my podcast that I'm starting, I have no idea. Like, again, I feel like you're an inspiration to me because it's like very similar. Like one day I just woke up and was thinking how underrepresented women are in the music industry in general, and then in the scene, even as fans, or all aspects, right? So that's why I'm starting this. And so my whole target is to understand like what your triumphs, traumas, and the evolution has been like for you. So like not everyone has like a trauma, I suppose, but even just a harder time because you're a female, and just to give people an idea of how different the world is if you're not a guy.
for sure. And I think one of the coolest things about, I could probably list 100 cool things about doing this podcast, but the coolest thing has been the amount of female support that I have gotten from the very beginning. Like, to the point where there are male listeners that only listen to my show because their girlfriend or their friend turned them onto it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and I think a
it
lot
blew
of
my
that
mind.
has come from when it was called Parents Podcast, Umphreak Parents Podcast. I was like, that's my people, because I had my son really, really young, and I've been seeing Umphreys this whole time. So like my son and I kind of grew up together listening to Umphreys, it's like the soundtrack to our lives, still is to this day. And I think that like really struck a chord with me. And that's why, I love the new name, but like that is what caught my eye in the beginning, is that I felt kind of alien in this crowd of mostly like either single guys or like girls there with their boyfriends or whatever. But it just never felt like there were other parents around, and that's just silly because they're everywhere,
Right. That's exactly how I felt. That was, yeah, I guess that could be like the deep-seated reason was just the inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
I was 19 when I had my son. He's 16 now. So it's the same thing. We grew up together, and we still kind of are.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. I always felt like it was either, a bunch of bros or, like just not my people at all.
Yeah.
The people that still, wanted to go, rage the show, have a great time, but you still had to pay your bills and get your kid to school and worry about all these other things. And, it was really about that. It still is, of course, with Dropped Among This Crowd, we wanted to make it even more inclusive of everybody. Yeah. So, that's what it's always been about, is being included, because I've always felt welcome. They've, as the band and anybody else in the community, have always made me feel welcome. And I'm all about inclusion in my life.
Right.
I teach my children that we love everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, your religion, all of that. It's about being together and community and helping each other out and doing what we can. And so to be able to exemplify that in this and what they're all about. So
yeah, that's amazing. I love it. And you guys have been getting really creative. I mean, not to go too into COVID, but like I love seeing your little, oh, we're doing space camp this week. We're doing nature camp this week. I love it so much. My son was in Indiana for the last month visiting his biological father. So I was just like, oh my gosh, this looks like so much fun. You would love that. But, you know, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of time because they're not, are your kids going to have school soon or?
Well, I'm in New York State, so it's been a shit show for the past couple of months in my state. They still have no idea what they're doing for school, but I've decided to homeschool my children next year. I've sent in the paperwork, and I am not waiting on other people to make the decision for me. And not to get too much into it, but I just don't trust the fact that they're not going to change the rules about me allowing me the chance to homeschool my child. Right. I don't know.
That makes sense.
Don't trust the situation. So
that makes total sense. It was hard for me because when my son like doesn't have a lot of friends at this middle school, like I don't know, it's a big district, so he's going to our close one and he doesn't know a lot of people there, but now one of his friends has chosen homeschool. One of his friends is a different last name. Like the only two friends he has, like the last name is in a different part of the alphabet. So like they'll be going to school on different days. So I'm just like, oh, like, what do I do? But he wants to go those 2 days. So I'm like, okay, if you want to try it out, then try it out. But we're all trying to navigate this, you know. I totally feel for kids that are like, this isn't school, you know, it's so bizarre. So good luck all that.
That's the hardest part. And that's why I decided to, because I personally feel my kids, everybody's kids are different. Everybody's situation is different. But my kids, I think it's going to devastate them more being there because my kids are social, especially my daughter. My 9-year-old daughter is social as hell.
Yeah.
She's going to hate it. She's going to hate it.
I know. So, I tried to warn my son that. I was like, I don't know, like you're not going to be able to see people's faces. It's gonna be way less kids. Like it's gonna be a different dynamic between the teachers and the students now, you know, everything's going to be different, right? But I feel the same way, but I'm like, if you want to try it. But like it just, I know, you know, the free spirits are kind of stuck, you know.
For
it's
sure.
a weird world. You know, I guess I want to know more about how homeschooling goes throughout the year because I'm going to need to pick up tips, I'm sure, pretty quick because they're only going 2 days a week anyway. So it's not like, you know, it's not like he's going to be there all the time. He's still going to need stuff going on, you know, throughout the week.
That's what I figured. I'm going to have to supplement this anyways. So it's like, I might as well just dive all the way in because that's how I do everything anyways. So
totally. Well, one sweet thing came of all of this is that you got to do a private Jake show for your birthday. How'd that go?
That was absolutely amazing. Like it's everything that you would think it is going to be.
Yeah.
and then even more. And even though we were the first ones, which I think he was kind of grateful for, because of the show, you know, we've kind of built a friendship a little bit, you know, so he felt a little less nervous, I think, because if, you know, technology is not really our friend right now. Sometimes, you know, it's great, but sometimes it can be really frustrating. Yeah. So, you know, it was still really great, even though we had like a couple snafus, but it was so awesome to have the opportunity to be in our houses and have our friends and some people I haven't seen their faces in so long, you know, and to like my friend Aliana popped on and I was just like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. Like I was going to cry just seeing her, you know, it was so to just have that piece, have your friends all together like that was awesome.
Yeah, and then so cool. Just that you get so spread out.
Yeah, like we were all over. We had California, New Mexico, Indiana, I think Texas, and then I'm in New York and Virginia. I mean, we were all over. And then, Jake's in Niles. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's so cool that we were everywhere, but we were together. And my husband bought a light, like a motion light and everything. So we had all the lights off in
That's
our
awesome.
house, and then the lights going in the back. So
It's amazing.
felt like a concert, and
Nice.
it was awesome to hear his stories. He would like the stories he was sharing and talking about these songs that were from his childhood and everything. And so that experience was neat too. And he loves being in that space creating.
Oh yeah,
So
it's so cool seeing him up there. So you get to kind of interact with him too? Like he can see, like it's kind of like this where he can see everyone too? That's neat. It's going to be me sitting in my living room by myself this Friday because I didn't realize people had tickets to Cycles at the Mish, like, like one of the very few shows that's happening this year. And I'm like, oh, of course it's the same day. Cause I just jumped on, a group was like, we need more people and we want to buy a ticket or buy a show. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I figured my friends would just join it. Everyone's like, well, I won't be around. Oh, it's going to be me sitting there like, I take it. Hello.
It's going to be so great though. I mean, it's totally like this, but it's just, how you'll be able to see everybody else too. And that was the great part too. So I'm sure you probably know Kyle.
Yeah.
And I asked him to be a part of my party, and they were playing, what did he play? He played Red Room Disco.
Yeah.
And which was so good. I was
huge.
Listening to it today again, and it was so good. And he was dancing, like, because I could move the speaker thing around, and I could like see everybody, or you can make it bigger and then it's just Jake. Oh. And so I have everybody up there, and you just see Kyle boogieing so hard while Jake's just playing, and I'm like, oh, this is so awesome right now. Like it feels like
a concert.
Yes,
because
we had the lights and everything.
And friends just getting down, in the crowd, and you're just like, oh, look at, they're having so much fun,
Yes, that's exactly what it was like. Yeah, it was, so cool. And we had the lights, and my kids were in the living room, and it was like, this is what I wanted for my birthday.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, granted, it's not the whole band, but at the end of the day, like, it's still I feel like as meaningful and as much fun, it's just a different, it's a different kind of fun, But to have your kids there and everything is amazing. Like, I've had my baby watching Bayless every week, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going to be able to have him at any shows for a while, I wasn't going to take him when he was like too small, but, and even then it's like, if you have to travel for a show or whatever, it's not always logistically possible to like bring your kids out, or if they're 21 and over, whatever the case is, it's not always possible to bring your kids. So it's so nice to be able to still introduce them to my favorite bands, right?
Absolutely. Well, my daughter is like obsessed with playing keyboard right now, and we watch Joel every Wednesday night, and she is so excited about it. And we're gonna do a private Joel show, and she wants to like write the set list and ask him questions. And so now it's not that she's just watching it, but now she like wants to learn more from them about music, and that's really cool.
Yeah, that's so exciting, because I feel like music always meant a lot to me, but I wasn't always immersed in it like that, you know what I mean? Where it's so interactive now. It didn't used to be like, it was interactive. If you're at a live show, of course it's interactive, and it's about the energy of the crowd and the people on stage, but otherwise in life, if you're just, it's not as interactive. It's kind of just hitting you and you're listening or you're not listening, So now everything is interactive. There's always like a comment thread that you can jump on or whatever. You know what I mean? There's just so many ways to be involved now. It's so cool, even though it's hard for me to understand how to use all the technology. I don't know.
I've quickly realized through all of this how much I really needed to upgrade everything.
Right, exactly. I'm like, wow, my computer is terrible. My phone, I just had to delete like 75 apps on my phone to be able to get one like WhatsApp on there. You know what I mean? I'm just like, what is happening? It's hard. It's hard like adjusting to being at home all the time versus, you know, like being out in the world, because I'm just like, wow, some things do really need an upgrade that I was not paying attention to before. But
Well, especially we travel so much for shows, and that's just what we do.
yeah,
And we take my youngest Brendan, he's been to like 15 shows already.
that's
Like
amazing.
just Umphrey shows. Like he's been to
Yeah,
Mo and he's been to other stuff,
yeah,
and he's been all over with us. He just went to Asheville. Like the last time we saw Umphrey's was February, and he went to Asheville with us.
that's so cool. That's
And
so
he
cool.
loves it. So he's
Yeah,
like definitely missing this too,
right.
because he likes going to the hotel and
Yeah, oh
swimming in the
yeah. My son
pool
lives
and
for hotels. Like, is there a pool? Every time.
for
Is there a
sure.
pool there? But I haven't, my son still hasn't been to an Umphrey show yet because I was going to all of them on my own. And so when he was so little, it was like, I can't physically be the only one there with him, you know what I mean? And then, so now he's grown, but now he's at the point where like, he just wants to go, he falls asleep. Like he's like an old man. He can fall asleep anywhere.
Oh, Brendan's the same way.
Yeah.
Fell asleep. He fell asleep like halfway through night 1 of Asheville. And then night 2, he slept through the entire thing. Like just straight up arena rock show. This kid is knocked out. He wakes up when the show is over and says, "Where's the rock and roll?" We're like, bro, you just slept through the whole thing.
my son did that same thing to me for Kyle Hollingsworth one year. Like we took him to see Kyle Hollingsworth at the Mish. He slept through all of it. I was just like carrying him on my back, like my best friend's carrying it, and he's like half our size by this point. You know, he's long, and
Yeah,
carrying him around, and then he's like sleeping on rocks and stuff. I finally lay him in my car and just listen to the show from the road. And then when we got back to where we were camping, it's like 2:00 in the morning by this point, and he's like, "What's going on? Where's everyone? Where's the party?" We're like, "What? It's time for bed, dude." Like, you missed it. I don't know what to tell you.
that's what he did. We got back to the hotel and like we had to leave the next day because we had done Caverns and then 2 nights of Asheville, and we drove from the Caverns to North Carolina. So we were like, we're done. 3 nights. We're like, we have to leave in the morning. We get back to the hotel and he's like jumping on the bed and stuff. And I'm like, no, this needs to stop. There is no after party. It's Sunday night. No.
Yeah, go home.
For sure. I'm like, you got this all wrong, buddy.
That's so funny. Well, I'm
But
glad
he
to know
was
it's not just
legitimately pissed though. Like he
Yeah.
was mad that he
Yeah.
missed it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Stay up next time you look.
We tried to keep you up. I don't know what to tell you. That's what my son does that almost every time these days. So I'm like, I'm gonna wait till I know that you can stay awake for it. Just cause like the shows that we get out here, it's not like Umphrey shows on the East Coast where there's like a cluster, you can go to a bunch, you know what I mean? It's always like either a bit, it's like Aspen, which I still haven't been able to do, and I've lived out here for 6 years, or there's Red Rocks, which is just a huge thing, and then like it's a huge thing physically too, like to get my kid in a safe spot and everything, like it's just so sketchy. And then New Year's, which kids aren't allowed at New Year's, so it's always, you know, hard to get them even into a show. I could take him to Red Rocks, but then I need to like really be sure that he's ready for it. You know what I mean? He went to Mo
a lot of walking
year.
for a little guy.
Yeah. Well, no, he went to Mo 2 years ago at Red Rocks, and he laid down the whole time, but he loved it. He loved Mo. He was not a big fan of pigeons.
I don't blame him. Sorry.
He's my kid. I get it. But he was just like, I don't really care a lot about pigeons, but Mo makes me really happy. And I was like, oh,
that's how I feel about Mo too. Mo makes me feel really happy too. Right? We watched night 2 of Mo Saturday night because they were supposed to do that drive-in thing here in New York State. And we thought about going because it's only 3 hours away. We don't have to leave the state.
Yeah.
But I'd have to take my kids. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I can't do it. They're not ready. Like, it's not happening. So
exactly.
they wound up canceling it because
Right.
of like the whole fiasco with the other band.
Yeah.
And so Saturday night we watched the stream, and we actually watched it again Sunday night. And it's just like, oh, this makes me so happy. But then I was like actually a little emotional.
Yeah.
Like Mo was making me emotional because it's just like everything.
Right.
You know, and then just like
yeah.
them playing, it's just all my memories with that band too. And I'm just like,
it's Mo is like the warm and fuzzies for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just I don't know. Like, I love them and Umphrey's equally, but it's a very different love.
It is.
It's interesting.
It is.
That it can be,
Yeah.
you know. But I
like
also
Mo's almost like macaroni and cheese when you're having your period. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
chocolate
like,
bar.
yes, this is so nice and comfortable. Like your favorite sweater or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, that's kind of what I
totally.
equate it to.
Yeah. Umphrey's is like your leather jacket and stilettos, like fierce, you know, like
For sure. You're like queen crown, you know, like every day, but once in a while you gotta, you know.
Yeah, no, I love it. Oh man. Well, this has been lovely. I don't want to take up your whole day. I don't know how long we've even been talking, but
I think like a half an hour. You're good though. I mean, and whatever.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to end this. This is an excellent conversation. Mostly, I'm excited for you. I wanted to know how your Jake thing went, and I wanted to know if you ever felt a time where it was like someone was harsh in your vibe just because you're a woman, right? Or like in the music scene at any point, be it in your podcast or at a concert, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could definitely, yeah, I mean, well, I have an ex that was really big into the jam music scene. That was the appeal for me to him. I never dated a guy that was in the jam music scene before, and I was really into it, you know? So I was like super excited that I was gonna finally have a boyfriend that was into the music that I was, and you know, was super knowledgeable about guitarists and all this stuff, you know, it was super appealing. So he turned out to be a complete POS, you know, just very verbally abusive, and it was just really awful.
Yeah.
And it really, for a little bit, kind of made me want to not be into this music anymore. Because when we first broke up, I knew I was going to see him at every show I went to, obviously, you know, especially Umphrey shows.
Yeah.
He's actually the reason why I was introduced to Umphrey's McGee. You know, he picked me up for our first date, and Umphrey's was playing. You know, I'd heard of them before.
Yeah.
But he was the reason that I like got into them. And so obviously when we broke up, I was kind of like at a crossroads with it, you know, in a way, because
like,
you're like, is this something that like I can separate? Which the ironic piece is how much I've separated it now. And not seeing him at shows, like obviously you don't want to see somebody that you don't like when you are trying to be someplace that's like your break away from life. You don't want to be reminded of this kind of stuff,
right?
So I just kept doing it. I was just like, you know what, no, I love this means so much to me. You don't that you don't get to take this from me. And I was just like, you know, if you're going to be there, you're going to be there, but there's going to be how many other people there, and I don't have to stand where I'm going to see you. I don't have to look at you. I don't have to whatever. I'm not going to let you win this. I'm not going to let you take this away from me, because it's so important to me. And it's funny now because he has absolutely zero interest in Umphreys McGee now. And this is what I'm doing.
And it's your life. That's so
Yeah. So
interesting.
I always tell my husband, I am the epitome of the phrase, the best revenge is living well,
Exactly.
because
It's so
there
true.
are a lot of people in my life that have, quite frankly, shit on me,
Yeah.
for most of my life. And to overcome that and be where I am now and accomplish what I feel is successful
Yeah.
in my dreams, and being a mom and doing my thing. And, it just the opposite of what all those people said that I was going to be or turn out to be, or what I was capable of, or,
Mhm.
all of that. And so I think that's the cool thing to like look back on my show too, especially, I'm kind of like, hey, I got this now.
Yeah.
You got nothing. So sure, 100%, every time I get on and, I interviewed Ryan, or I'm interviewing Joel, and I'm just like, cosmically, I'm like, yeah, universe. Yeah. You're just like, nice.
Totally. Oh man, that gave me goosebumps because it's so very similar to how my life has been. My son's biological father is the one that got me into Umphrey's, and he took me to my first Umphrey's show a month before I got pregnant, if that tells you.
Umphrey's getting you pregnant, man. Bayless's fault.
Yeah, and so like that's how it's been, and so then it was like this whole piece where I was going with him and his friends for like 2 years while we were trying to make it work. It was a
Mhm.
hot mess, right? And we did not
Mhm.
belong together, and it was that same thing where I was like, I think I'm done. And I would only go to shows if like people would invite me. And then it wasn't until my son was like 5 or something where I was like, I miss that, and I need to get back. I took like 2-year hiatus, but I've been seeing him since '07, right? So I just like
Mhm.
I wasn't sure how to navigate it on my own, and I hadn't found my like crew yet, you know what I mean? Like I had a couple of people I had gone to shows with, but it wasn't like now we've got this like family that like you said, it just expands nationwide, and you
Mhm.
always know you got a place to go, and it's just incredible. And I'm so happy that neither of us let those dudes take it away from us, like,
Absolutely. That was just like, no, you're not going to do that, because this is a different feeling. And now it's like so much more than just listening to Umphrey's McGee. Like
exactly.
for me, obviously, my show is like my life now, pretty
Right.
much, And then my family, like these are the people that now, if I got to complain about that dude, I'm actually complaining about that dude to these people. You know what I mean? Like they're helping me like work through whatever, because they're my family, and like I
Right.
met them because of this band. So
Hmm.
it's like, no, you're not going to take that away from me. I'm not going to
No.
allow that. And I think with this show has been great to find not only those people, but especially those females,
Hmm.
those strong females that are actually interested in the music. Because
Hmm.
that was always my thing too, was either it was a girl that was there because her boyfriend was into Umphreys, and so she was only there because of him,
Right.
or we have the groupie, which I
Sure.
hate that
The
word.
worst. And I'm like,
That's
please
not a
don't
word I
ever.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I hate that word, because it's like, no,
Mhm.
that's not why I'm here. So
Exactly.
to be able to actually, and like I said, finding these women that were listening to my show, and then I'm like, okay, so they're listening to my show, and they're actually like girls that would just go to this show, like go to see Umphrey's. They know these songs. They want to be there. It's not some guy that's taken. Like I was astonished that you guys existed.
Right. We're here. We're
I know.
here. Because my
That was
husband
like
is
the
like
most
not.
satisfying feeling. I'm like, yes, I'm not the only one.
Isn't it amazing though? Because you really do feel alone. Because I mean, demographically, when you go to a show, you are the only one. It feels like it. It very much feels like it. And
It
so
doesn't feel that way now though,
no,
because I know where everybody is. But
exactly.
at the time, it's a sausage fest. It
For sure.
is. It's all dudes.
Yes,
And you're like, I'm
100%.
sure some of you are nice guys,
Sure,
but
sure.
I'd like some girlfriends that are into the same stuff I'm into.
I feel that. I know. Me and 6 of my girlfriends went to Minnesota for the 2-night run in 2018. And there were 7 of us on the rail, and it was just girls, and it was awesome. I was just like, this is the coolest thing. And they're all the same way, you know? It's like, we're just collecting them now. We're like, oh, you're into it too? Cool. You're ours now.
And, you know, I have felt so included in the community, but in the inner community of Umpphreys.
Yeah.
Like, all of those guys have been so kind to me. And I mean, that's just who they are anyways. Like, you know, they're just those kind of people anyways.
Right.
But never, ever, ever once within the, you know, the core of the Umpphreys community have I ever felt less than or not smart enough, or never once has like anybody talked down to me or any of that because I'm a girl or woman, you know, oh, she doesn't know. And again, I don't pretend like I know everything because there's no way anybody could know everything about Umphrey's McGee. Like,
exactly. I'm like,
there's so much information and history, and there's just so much, like, there's nobody that knows it all. There's just no
I'm
way.
always so impressed with you because I'm just like, how does she know? I'm like, because I've been listening since 07, seeing him live since 07. Still, like, I'll be like, why can't I think of the name of this song? Like, what's wrong with me? Every time. But it's because I swear, because they do those, they'll do like, what's the intentions clear in the other one where they say intentions clear in one song, but it's actually, they do it on purpose. They're like, they don't want me to remember. That's it.
It's okay. I definitely still do it too. I totally do it too. I mean, we all do it.
It's so hard. I mean, because they just have such a wide range, you know, it's just hard to keep track of it all. And they've been around for so long. It's incredible. Like 22 years now.
I know. I know. It is amazing. And, you know, just they still want to play.
Mm-hmm. And they're getting better. I think they get better every time I see them. I'm like, blew me away again. You know,
that's why 2019 is hard to vote for Hall of Fame.
Oh God, I never vote. I'm like, I don't have a strong enough of an opinion. I'm gonna leave this to you all who like really, really, really feel strongly. Like, do the thing, because it's all so good.
That's how my husband is. He's like, just vote for me.
Yeah.
Just do what you're doing. He's like, because I know you're going to critique the shit out of it. So you can have my votes too.
Right. That's how I am too about like when you're trying to make a request or something. I'm like, I don't know where to start with that. Like, they do such a good job building their set list already that I don't want to fuck with that. Like,
that was the hardest thing with the Jake show, because it was my birthday. So I'm like, well, I definitely want to put some requests in there. Sure. And that was the hardest list I think I've ever had to make in my entire life.
Yeah. And then you're making a list for only one of them. So it's like, okay, so where's Jake's road? You know what I mean? Like, because Jake has very different vocals than Bayless. So it's like, you're only going to ask. Of course, he could play anything, but is his vocal range there?
Right. You're only going to ask for certain things. Right. Because I'm like, well, obviously, I'm not going to ask Jake to sing Haji because he's going to look at it and laugh at me. He's going to be like, no, you're not getting that. Why would you even waste my time right now? No.
Do you know me? Do you know?
Yeah, we just met. Like, you've never been to a show before.
Right? That's always the hardest part, I swear. I'm like, I don't know. I can't. They got it. They're good.
But you know, he played 2, I think. I don't even remember. I made like a pretty decent list. But he played 2. He played Birthday by the Beatles, which was my number one request.
Started with that one, right?
And he started with that one. And obviously it's my birthday.
Right.
And I wanted the sound engineer / studio manager for Boondock, Jim Leap, is a friend of mine. And
cool.
I have this fantastic memory of the Bayless show in 2018 in Indy. It was his birthday. And they start the second set. They are supposed to go into divisions, and they fake out, and the rest of the guys start playing Birthday by the Beatles for Bayless. And so Jimmy is at the show, and he's hanging out with us, and he's standing behind me, and he's just singing it so loud, so excited. It's Bayless's birthday, everybody's there. He's so happy. And that memory just made me so happy, it was just like, this is so awesome. So when the opportunity came up to do it for my birthday, I was like, well,
of course,
obviously I want Jake to play that riff because that's just sick.
Yeah.
But then I want Jimmy to sing the backing vocals. And he did it. He totally did it.
That's amazing.
He was there and he sang it for me. So
oh, that's so cool. That's
it was
really
very cool. I was like, oh, thanks. So he played that, and then I asked for Soul Food One, and he played that. But everything else on that set list I posted, he decided. But when he told the story about why he chose those songs, and then they wound up being songs, so he said that it was songs from his childhood, and he would tell the story about his childhood, like before he'd play them and stuff, talking about like when he played Fearless and listening to Pink Floyd when he was 3. Like, it was really cool.
That's so cool.
And there are definitely songs on there that were important in my childhood too. So it was cool that he played those. Yeah, it was one of those, like, he gave us what we needed sort of a situation. There was a song, So Far Away by Dire Straits. And that was one of my dad's favorite bands. And my dad passed away in 2006. And he's the reason why I'm into all the classic rock that I am, is my dad. And he speaks to me through music, my dad does. And so as soon as Jake started playing that, I was just, because I didn't ask. Right. And it just, it came out, and I was just like,
that's always one thing that gets me the most about shows, is it like when you need it, it seems like the right thing is always played, And I am always like, I sound crazy when I say that. I know I sound crazy, but it's so true. Like, it just, when it, right when you need it. And that's why it is so powerful, It's so incredible. I love that he tells stories. He's the best storyteller. I love him.
He does. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for us fans to not only be able to get that satisfaction, like I said before, but to get this intimate chance to watch him create in the space that he loves so much, which, I mean, if anybody watched the Day in the Dock thing, was just super cool. But then to see him in there in real time, playing and doing these things, and him getting to play. He wants to play for people.
Yeah.
And, doing a lesson is cool, but
it's not the same.
Musician. Yeah, you chose to be a musician because you need that too.
You chose to be a performer instead of a teacher. Some people they don't want to perform, they love music and it's meaningful for them, but they want to teach it, whereas they very obviously chose, and they wanted a band and they wanted to rock it, and it's got to be so hard for them. That reminds me of when Bayless was getting so emotional in the Boondocks sessions or whatever, right? And
that's what I call it. I don't know what it is, but I call it Boondock Sessions. I think it sounds cooler.
I miss these guys so much, he was genuinely getting emotional. I'm like, we do too. We feel that too, and it's hard, when that's such a normal thing in your life, to have it not there anymore. It's crazy how much it changes your life, but how much you also adapt to it and reach out. I've been meaning to talk to you, I think, since you started your podcast. I swear, what was it? It was last year. We were trying to meet up at Red Rocks, right? Or was it the year before? It was last year?
I think it was last year. Yeah.
Last summer. So, and then now it's we have a reason and we have the time and we're able to just do it. And it's so nice, because I think that's one of the things. What is it? Extroverted, introvert, or vice versa, where I need most of my time here with my people, with my family, with whatever, I quiet most of the time, but then once or twice a month, I need to get out and smile at some strangers, like dance, you know what I mean? Just like
I'm
get out
exactly
and
the
talk
same
to people I've
way.
never talked to before, you know? And that's been the hardest thing I think for me, is just like, how do I talk to new people now? You know what I mean? It's just like, you don't find anyone when you're only at your house all day.
Right. I'm the exact same way. And that's why it's been so hard for me, is because all my friends are around the country. So it's not like I have friends that come over anyways,
Right.
and of course, having 3 kids and doing whatever. So it's not like it's party at our house anyways.
Right.
So for me getting out and spending time with my friends is getting in the car and traveling to another city and staying in a hotel and doing the whole thing. So that's why it's been hard for me. And also because I don't know when I'm going to be able to hug my friends again.
Yeah, because they're all so far apart.
Like,
That I'm very lucky in that aspect. Like, most of my very close friends are in Colorado too. So for the most part, I have like my people, and they're within like an hour, where they've been able to be my support system. Like, do you need groceries and stuff? Because I'm here with the baby and Jude, and like, so I am so lucky in that account, like I can't imagine like being so far, because you don't even know if you could travel places, or you know what I mean, like go see them, everything's closed, I don't know, it's just so hard to even see.
Well, and for us, like New York State isn't allowing anybody to come in here until you quarantine for 14 days. Like it's just crazy to think that, like, are we going to be able to like do this again?
Yeah, like how long do we have to do this, or how long will it be before because like my friends in Indiana, I went to see my family because they hadn't met my son yet, and so they're all dying to meet the baby, and so I was there strictly to see like my grandparents and my parents or whatever, and like my friends had 4th of July parties and stuff, invited us to them and everything, and I'm just like, I don't even know, because like Indiana is very different too. So they're like just not wearing masks and just having parties and stuff, whereas in Colorado it's been much quieter. It's been like mask ordinance from basically the beginning, and everyone's kind of staying at home unless they're like out on a trail or camping or something, we're not really going out or anything. And so when we went to Indiana, it was very different. It was just like, I don't think I'm ready for that. I don't think I'm ready to I don't know what I'm exposing my kids to in that situation. And I'm not even a person who's ever worried about germs, you know what I mean? But that's kind of where we're at in the world right now. And like to go to that and then bring it back to my family or something the day before I leave just didn't feel right either, you know what I mean? So it's like, I love you guys and I wish I could see you, but for now we're just gonna have to do screens, I guess.
Yeah, and it's because there's just so much we don't know, and you also have to think about your personal comfort level. Like that's what we were thinking about, obviously, with Mo, is like, I don't want the first time that I do something that I also have to worry about my kids.
Yeah.
Like I need to be able to go and feel the waters and see what this is going to be like now, because it's not going to be this, even when we do go back to it, like it's just not going to be the same. There's going to be new everything.
Right.
So it's like I need to test the waters and get my footing on what live music even looks like now before I think about bringing my kids.
Totally. 100%. We had a drive-in show right in my town, and my husband doesn't go to shows. He just like doesn't like crowds and has ear problems, like it messes with his ears to be around. Not that the drive-in show has loud music. He just didn't. It's like too hard to get a ticket to go. You know what I mean? To go to something you don't really care about. But
for sure.
So I went to see like the Magic Beans and everyone, but even then I was like, I'm not it's a drive-in. Like I would have the comfort of my own car. I would be able to keep my kids in the car or whatever if I didn't feel comfortable, but still it's like I need to go see what this world is like before I introduce them.
Well, and it's not fair to them, because again, my kids are social. Like
Yeah.
Brendan loves going to concerts because he loves talking to everybody that's around us. Like we'll spread out a blanket and he'll make friends with everybody. And by the end of the night, everybody's like closer to us because of Brendan.
Yeah.
And it's like, so now I'm going to take him and I'm going to have to tell him he has to stay in the car.
He doesn't get to say hi to people.
He doesn't get to high five people. He doesn't, if we see anybody that's our family, because I refer to everybody as aunt and uncle. So my kids, it's their family, and they can't hug them. They can't get a kiss on the cheek or high five or
any
that's not any fun for them. Like I'm not gonna take them and be like, oh, sit in this car.
Yeah, have fun.
So we can go to the show. Let's do this.
You'd be like, this is not a show.
Yeah.
That's how we felt too. It was like, it was a very cool, like, I mean, if I don't get to go to real concerts, then absolutely I would choose to go to a drive-in show, but it's not anything. It's similar to doing home shows, you know what I mean? Like, it's not very loud music. You can't get close to the band, you know what I mean? It's not very much different really at the end of the day. You're just in a parking spot instead of in your living room, you know what I mean? The sound is projected through your car speakers, so depending on your speaker situation, it's not that great. I mean, it can be fantastic. People are walking around with like subs. I think that's not allowed, but they still were doing it kind of thing. But
yeah,
it's still, I don't know, like you said, it's not worth it for them for sure, especially when you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and that's what I keep telling my kids. I'm like, I know it sucks, like I know this is hard, but it's like we just got to wait it out because it's not worth it. I mean, and now that's what happened with Mo, because the chain smokers had that big debacle in the Hamptons. And so now it ruined it for them. And then they had to post a video about not being able to do it. And you could tell by the looks on their faces that they were absolutely devastated. They were devastated that they weren't going to be able to do this now.
Yeah. And
like,
why? Because
already upset about not being able to play live music.
Right.
And you're finally going to be able to do something. And now it's like,
just swept out from under you.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
And that was all because people didn't want to wear masks, right?
So in the Hamptons, these guys, I guess they did the drive-in. They were going to do a drive-in thing, but then it wound up being like 3,000 people. Oh. And then nobody was wearing a mask and everybody like went to the stage. Like it was just, like it was 2018.
Yeah. Like what? You guys are new? What is happening?
Like, it's not the summer of 2019, guys. Yeah. Like, the 2020 rules now.
Yeah. I mean, for the love of God, just do it so that we can go to drive-in concerts. Like, we can't even do that now because people can't just follow the rules for a little bit. It's so sad. But it's okay. I'll just, like, keep buying Jake streams or something.
That's how I feel. I'm grateful that we're able to support them in any way that we can. And that's something too, if people, not only supporting Umphrey's or whoever their band is, support your favorite local venues too. Like, find out if, I'm sure they'll take a donation. They're not going to say no if you call them up and be like, hey, can I give you $50 or whatever, 25 bucks, like those small venues. We definitely have some places here in Buffalo that probably aren't going to exist after this.
Right. No, we already lost.
How can you social distance?
Yeah. We lost my favorite place to see Aqueous at just shut down this summer because they couldn't make it through, but they're becoming a comedy club, so that's cool. Like, I like that it's still going to be a creative place, but it's just a bummer, It's our little small hometown venue that all touring bands stop there, all small enough. It was only a 400-person venue, but, it's a bummer. Also, I didn't know you're in Buffalo, New York. Hold on. I want to go to Buffalo. I'm going to have to come see you.
Yeah. You should come see me.
Obviously it'll be like 2022.
That's when everybody's gonna be traveling again. Yes, everybody always gets excited when they hear I'm from Buffalo, especially if
I know, it's so funny because everyone's like, oh, New York, and I'm like, I don't ever want to go to New York City, and they're like, Buffalo, I want to go to Buffalo.
Buffalo is a very nice city. My mom's family, is from here. My mom was born and raised in Buffalo, but I was born and raised in North Carolina. But then when my parents divorced, we moved back up here because my mom wanted to be by family. And
how cool though, New York and North Carolina, like that's a dope, like I don't know, childhood.
yeah.
I've never been to I think I've driven through North Carolina, but I've never like stopped, but I hear so many good things. I'm like, I gotta go.
Beautiful. I lived right on the coast too. My dad was in the military, so we lived like on a military base, like right on the coast. But yeah, Buffalo is a very cute city. It's got a lot of great food, a lot of great vegan food too. If that's your thing. That's my thing. So
totally my thing. I'm into
it. We're definitely getting a nice little vegan area here, and we actually have a vegan grocery store like 5 minutes from my house, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, the guys from Aqueous are from here and still live here.
I know, I always tell them
very close to me. Actually, we actually live in like the same town as one of the guys. I live where one of the guys graduated from high school, and it's funny because bringing it back to full circle, my ex was really good friends with those guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually, I've got some pretty funny after show memories and stories.
I love them. I'm like, tell me they never did anything scummy to you. Oh.
No. They were smart enough to realize, well, my ex actually through a festival in Buffalo called Buffalo Festival, and wound up getting into some legal trouble the last time he tried to throw it. But Aqueous played his festival a couple of times. But they've also embodied the phrase, the best revenge is living well in that situation too. So
I love those guys. They're so sweet.
They were smart and did what I did. So
right? Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that makes me happy because I'm like, those guys are so sweet. I don't like to hear that they're affiliated with someone like that, but it's good to know that they brushed them off too, because Aqueous is definitely one of my favorites. It's like Umphrey's, Mo, and Aqueous are all in their own little spot. And then like from there, it's like Keller and all my summer camp bands, are all pretty high up there, but those three, I'm just like, I love them so much. And it's so cool that you're from the same town. Man.
It's very neat to see them have the success that they've had too.
They had to get a drummer, I think, is what it was. Like because they were a band for so long and their drummers kept screwing it all up, and then they finally got Rob from Ohio. And that dude kills it. Like, he kills it. Mm-hmm. He's so good.
Yeah. I can remember seeing them at a friend's like backyard festival. This guy threw a festival. He had all this land and just all the bands that he knew from around here. And I remember, seeing them then, and now it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, good for you guys, to do that and to stick with it and keep trying when, your drummer's not working, but you're like, we're still going to figure it out and try to do this. And they are.
Yeah.
So,
they're doing a great job.
Cool.
They really are. I'm sad. I was supposed to see them. They were supposed to move up from Hody's, the smaller venue in Fort Collins, to the Aggie, which is like maybe close to double the size, not actually double, but pretty close. But they they got there. Like they're at the big venue, and then everything got canceled. And I was also inversely supposed to see Mo like 2 weeks before that at Washington's, which is even a smaller venue than Hody's, the one that shut down. Like, it's a very small venue. I was like, seeing Mo at that place is going to be so freaking cool. And then it got canceled. And I emailed the venue and was just like, I'm sorry. Like, I know this has to be stressful for you. Because it was right at the beginning, you know, and they just, you know, were starting to cancel stuff. And just like, I know people are probably being jerks to you right now. And like, I'm sorry that this is probably really a nightmare on your end. But like, is there going to be a rescheduled date? And they're like, no, unfortunately it's refunds. But we'll let you know, like, thank you for reaching out and being kind. We'll let you know when they're coming back before they go on sale. And it's like, dope. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't think they foresaw that it's going to be like years, but they were really kind when it happened. I was so bummed though. I've never seen Mo at that small. I haven't seen Mo at that small of a venue since like 2009. You know what I mean? So it was just going to be really cool, but that's okay.
Well, that's the nice thing too about like Aqueous being from here. I mean, Mo's from here too.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's cool to have another band from here.
And they love Mo and Umphrey's. Like, you know, that's I think why I love them so much is because they have like you know, I was born in 88, so they have like that flair of like that 90s, you know, 90s kid flair, like their covers and stuff, but also like they pull, like you could feel the vibes from Mo, you could feel the vibes from Umphrey's, you know what I mean? Like they're so good. I mean, and I love them because they're my age, you know what I mean? I was used to seeing Umphrey's who they're young, but they're still 10 years older than me, you know what I mean? 10, 15 years older than me, depending on who you're talking about. And so I was always like little girl, you know what I mean? When I distinctly talked to Stacey before and he's like, what are you, 17? And I was like, my kid is older than your kid. Fuck off, you know?
My kid is older than all their kids, so
exactly. And I don't know how old Jake's kids are, but like my kid is pretty close to older than, you know, like I don't know, he's gonna be 12, so he's pretty old. Like I am not a little kid, I have a little kid.
For real, my oldest is driving, so
scary. It's amazing. Well, that's awesome. I'm not joking. I'm gonna come out to Buffalo and be like, I'm here. I won't ask to crash, but I will be coming out there and wanting to meet up in person because
that'll be fun. We'll definitely hit up some vegan places and
some shows, hopefully.
And some shows. Yes. Yes.
I sure hope anyway. I don't know.
We will. I'm pretty confident that we'll see live music. It's just going to be interesting to see what it actually looks like.
It really will. Because it's going to be harder to get tickets no matter what, you know,
because they're going to have to half capacity or quarter or however they figure it out.
Yeah.
They're going to have to cut it down. And now everybody's going to want to go. So because
they're
going to be fighting each other for tickets. So
yeah, that's how it is with the cycle show at the Mish. It's like maybe 20% seating, you know, and so it's not like a concert where you just stand there, you know, there's like tables spread out and that's where you're at for the show, you know, is at your table and they're whatever. But then you can buy like an 8-pack, a 6-pack, a 4-pack, 2-pack or whatever, but still at the end of that's not very many tickets, you know? And so the tickets for seeing a band like Cycles that would be like $10, $12 is now like $50, you know? Or I paid, I think, $35 to go to a Thursday show to see Cycles. You know what I mean? It's like, so what are we going to be paying to see Umphrey's?
Well, see, and the thing is even though we are going to have to pay more, which it's Umphrey's, I don't give a shit.
Oh, I'm going.
But they're not going to make any more.
No.
Like the end is not happening there. It has to go to the fact that the venue is going to have to make up the money. They're going to have to probably
up their drink prices,
clean everything, up their drink prices, probably have more bathroom attendants to make sure there's not too many people in the stalls or I mean, it's so me paying more money is not giving the band more money.
No, it's just going to the cost of
operation now.
With the regulations or whatever. Gosh, I swear I was like, we will not talk about COVID too much, but it's like we're living in COVID. Everything is affected.
Well, and especially when it's so much. Like I was talking to a friend earlier today, texted me happy birthday and stuff. And he was like, oh, how's everything going? And I'm like, well, good. We're doing good. We're healthy. We're safe. We have what we need. We're able to give to others. Like, in the grand scheme of things, we're good.
Right.
I'm like, but really it sucks because all of the things that I do, like, this is such a big piece of my life, and it's the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest, but one of the biggest pieces that's affected is the entertainment industry.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because, like, the restaurants have been able to be open the whole time. So, like, they're still, like, at least selling food, if nothing else. Like, they don't have to have
like,
service staff.
So of my friends personally are, like, out of work,
Yeah.
like, it's.
And so then you're even struggling to pay rent, let alone, like, hope to go when shows start up again. It's like everyone's going to be catching up financially. And then probably not able to go to all the shows they want to go to anymore. It's already, it's so sad because I always felt that as when I was a single mom, like back in the day before I met my husband, it was hard. Like, I was like on every street team. Just, I want to go to the show. I have no money. I want to go to the show. Put me on the street team, And so I'm just imagining, like, they're not even going to have street teams. They're not going to need street teams because tickets are just going to sell themselves because people are dying to go see shows again. So it's like a whole group of people. And that might be something worth starting as like a charity fund for people who like meet the financial, like, I don't know how to word it, but like if people are in financial hardship, maybe we start a fund for those people to be able to go see shows or something, you know what I mean? Like a nonprofit or something, so that,
because I think it's important for some people, like the mental health. Like, I know for me, like, it's good for my mental health. So, if this is what your outlet is, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. No. It's just, I just imagine how hard it's going to be. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for everyone for a little bit to adjust, but I don't know. We'll get there. I have faith. We'll get there.
I do too. And it's nice to be able to keep helping the band in the way that we can, whether that's just by like still spreading the word about it and keep talking about it, or, giving when they do their shows, or buying a private Jake show, because it's not even, there's a couple people that were bitching about the price of the show. And it's just ridiculous. Like, are you, even when people are bitching about a $20 stream, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, like, we can't do anything. Do you know how much money you've saved just on like fuel from driving to shows? If you go to shows a lot. Like, I go to a lot of shows. They're in Denver. I gotta drive an hour there, an hour back. That's a lot.
For real. Like, I can't even believe it that they expect that they're going to put something together like the Boondock sessions and then be like, oh, here, we just gave you this for free.
Yeah.
Like, listen, guys, you get a lot of shit for free already. First of all, like, I don't really see any other band. Like, I don't follow other bands like that. So I don't know what they're doing, but I can guarantee there's not a lot of bands that are giving you twice a week streams and this opportunity and that. It's like, you guys need to get over yourselves, because it's not even like he's making all that, like, money. It's $1,500. He's not seeing every single penny of that.
No, they're like, splitting it up.
There's people they have to
live
pay.
Lesson masters, right? Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's some sort of like you're using our site kind of a thing going. It's a business.
I'm certain that they take a percent. I don't know what the percent is.
I'm sure.
But I would assume that they take a percent. And then,
well, that's how they have to make their money.
Right.
Like,
yeah. It's just, and it's so silly. Like, you don't have to buy it. Don't buy it. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
how I feel. Like, should I go into this is what I said to my husband the other day. I'm like, should I go into a car dealership and start bitching about how much that car costs because I can't afford it? So that car is garbage and it's worthless. And you should just give it to me for free, because no way is that car worth that.
Too much.
They're like, bitch, you need to get out of here before I call the police.
Why are you here?
They'd be like, you are out of your mind. Like, we're calling Like, they're going to admit you because you are nuts right now.
Seriously.
Like, if you don't want it, don't buy it.
Exactly.
And be quiet.
Exactly. But really, the potential is there for you to have a $10 show. You know, if it's 10 households and you invite 9 people to join you, that's $15. You know what I mean? And then you're like, at least in Colorado, you're still under the limit. You know what I mean? Like, the recommendation is no groups over 10. Well, that's not over 10. We're still doing it by regulation. We're still being safe. And
right, you're still doing all these things. And it's $15 to watch Jake blow your mind in your living room.
Yeah, like once in a lifetime experience type shit. You know what I mean? Like, he wrote a set list for you guys and told the story about why, and that's a huge thing for me, is like, why did you pick those songs? Why? Like, how do you build a set list? How do you choose? You know what I mean? So for him to sit there and describe to you like why he chose them and tell about himself is so huge. You know, like, that's so much more personal than like, he doesn't talk on stage anymore. Like, I went to see them for the New Year's run and I was like, Jake has been so quiet. And I don't know if he, like, maybe it just seemed like he was quiet to me. I don't know. But, like, it just seemed like Bayless was talking a lot and Jake wasn't talking as much as usually. Like, he's always joking around and stuff. And it just seemed like he was quiet. It's like, I hope he's doing okay. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
But that was like my favorite part too, was just being able to hear these stories. And you know, like, you're not going to get, even if he does talk on stage, you're not going to get that. He's not going to be like, we're going to cover this song that I remember listening to when I was 5 and it, you know, changed my life. And every time I listen to it, like, he's not going to do that. You're not ever going to get that. You're not even going to get that at a Brennan and Jake show.
No.
You know, you're not going to get that ever.
The only time I've heard a Jake story was when I did VIP, and he like told us about going to see the Dead with his dad and like why he does the point. Because Jerry like was playing and then he lowered his sunglasses and looked at Jake, and he was on his dad's shoulders, looked at Jake and pointed right at him. So now Jake always does the point. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Like, I love it so much, you know? And it's not something, I would have never been like, why does Jake point all the time? You know what I mean? I would just think like, he doesn't know what to do with his hands when he's taking pictures or something, you know what I mean?
For sure, he's just like.
But no, he told us, you know, and that's the only time I've ever gotten that. And like I said, I've seen him since I was 7, so, and I've gotten one Jake story, you know, like, that's huge. That's so cool. That makes me excited because we're doing it this Friday. But
yeah,
I don't know.
You're going to love it. It's such a very cool experience just for so many reasons. It helps him get it out of his system. You know, like, it helps him satisfy that itch that he needs from playing for people.
Yeah, which isn't that so cool to be the one that can satisfy that for him, you know what I mean? Like, he's dying to play for people. So if I could give him some peace of mind because he can play, you know, I love that. I love that.
That's how I felt. He was just like, thanks guys, you know, thanks for letting me play for you guys. And I'm just like, anytime, bro. Anytime. I'm totally here for that. So
seriously. Oh, that's amazing. Oh. Well, it's so good to talk to you. I have one more interview today, so I want to make sure that we're leaving enough time, but it was so good to talk to you, and I hope we could talk again. I mean, we apparently have ample time to have many conversations, so I hope to talk to you again pretty soon. And I forget we have viewers. I'm not just talking to you. Viewers, don't forget to go listen to Sarah's podcast. It's Dropped Among This Crowd, right? And also we're doing like SaveOurStages.com relates to what you were saying, like to support local venues, and then nevasoch.org, which we'll talk about those later on. But thank you so much for taking time today to talk to me.
Yeah, this was really great. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. As we talked about a bunch, this is something that's, you know, this subject is important to me anyways, and my story. And so when you approached me, I was just like, Wow. What a very cool opportunity. So thank you for asking me to do this. It was very, very cool. And it was so great to finally meet
I
you
know, like talk in
and
person.
talk to you and get this, again, an excuse to connect with friends. So
Exactly.
this was
Oh,
very wonderful. Thank you.
yes, yes, much love. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.